Hey, what's going on, Beans? Today I have yet another Animal Jam conspiracy. I don't know why, but ever since the messages in a bottle have gone away, I've had this strong urge in me to make conspiracy videos and to come up with my own conspiracies since Animal Jam isn't really providing us with as many. And today is a great one that definitely lives up to those amazing expectations that Animal Jam set with the messages in a bottle event. Now, today we're going to talk about why Zios is actually a phantom. And you may think, okay, this is going to be some ridiculous speculation, but technically, according to Animal Jam's rules, it actually has to be true in order for the lore to be true. So either Zios is a phantom, or the lore is all made up. And I'm going to go with the first one, and you'll see why in a second. Now, the real logic behind this all comes from this simple fact of Animal Jam. All phantoms come from other phantoms. This is just the fact of Animal Jam. It's something Animal Jam has said themselves. It's the reason that there's this whole fuss about phantoms trying to make the Phantom Fortress and like the Phantom King spitting out little phantoms, because phantoms don't just spontaneously or like show up. They don't just show up out of nowhere. You have to have other phantoms actively creating them, whether it's through a fortress or a factory or a king or some sort of awesome phantom boy. They all have to come from another phantom. So let's take you back in the Animal Jam lore. It all starts with Zios. Zios gets really lonely in the middle of Jamaa because he's got really nothing to do. He's like an old guy. Like, what are you going to do with your life when you're just sitting alone, like, creating stuff? So he makes Mira. Mira shows up, and Mira's like, yo, what up, Zios? And they, like, fall in love, and they should, because if they don't, they're, like, the only two people on the earth. And he'd be a really bad creator, because if he made someone for him to love, and then he didn't love her, then that would be pretty bad. So they fall in love, and then Mira starts to like break what Zios wanted her to do. She starts to create animals, and Zios is like, no, oh no, I never wanted this to happen. This wasn't supposed to happen. He gets super mad. Mira starts crying, and then her tears fall down onto the ground, and where her tears hit the ground erupt these little phantom boys, and the phantom boys just come out of Mira, basically. So therefore, Mira created the phantoms. All phantoms have to come from other phantoms. Isn't that true? So therefore, Mira must be a phantom in order to have created phantoms. And then even farther back, Zios has to be a phantom to create Mira, who created phantoms, who created proto-phantoms. That is how it works, simply. Now, you're probably saying, Julian, that's ridiculous. We've seen Mira, she's a gray heron. Well, actually, have we really seen Mira? Because in actuality, Zios doesn't have really an appearance. All we know is that he's a mask and that he can bend and transform to whatever shape he wants. So it would make sense that his greatest creation that was meant to be as similar to him as possible so he could fall in love with it would also have the same ability. So maybe Mira is a phantom, but she's just twisted. So in this original lore that, by the way, Animal Jam has changed, possibly because of this inconsistency, Mira was actually a phantom in a gray heron's disguise. And this is totally possible because Zios can take any form that he wants, and he can hide himself however he likes, but he just chooses not to reveal who he is behind the mask. In fact, it says on the Animal Jam Wiki's page, which is the hub for all the most hardcore Animal Jam players who know everything about the lore, it says that Mira may not actually be a gray heron, and that it may just be a disguise. This is a serious conspiracy, just no one has really put together this idea that maybe that disguise is because she's a phantom, and therefore Zios is a phantom. So now the question is, if Mira and Zios are phantoms, why the heck do the phantoms attack their creators? Well, here's the answer. They don't attack Mira. Mira is totally fine. Mira is their creator, but they attack Zios because they take Zios as their enemy. He's like this person who made their creator cry. Like, what a terrible guy. But then, why does Mira hate the phantoms, her creation? Well, first of all, they were created by accident. Keep that in mind. When she cried, they were created, but she didn't cry intentionally or create them intentionally with her tears. So therefore, by helping Zios, she's not being like a hypocrite or like taking back her actions. She's actually just fighting for someone she loves. In the end, her love for Zios trumped her love of creation, which is symbolic because with Zios, his love of creation trumped his love of what he loved, because he ended up hurting Mira and making her cry because he valued the physical more than his actual attachment to Mira. And that's why Mira is just such a great god and such a good role model, is because Mira actually threw away this idea that creation and being the best and making as much stuff as possible is actually more important than like true love between two individuals. And so by helping Zios, she actually solidifies this idea that the gods of Animal Jam are actually really good beings, phantoms, and they're great role models. But Zios is the opposite here. And this is kind of the reason that I consider Zios a phantom, because I think part of the definition of a phantom is that you have to be bad and the enemy of the animals, whereas I consider Mira kind of a good alpha. So, you see in this cutscene in Return of the Alphas that Zios disappears into the Phantom portal and that his mask is left behind. Well, the wording is that the Phantoms captured Zios, but does that necessarily mean that they took him by force? It looks as though this mask is torn off and dropped, rather than he's destroyed and then his body is taken through the portal. And the word captured doesn't necessarily mean that they physically took him through the portal. It's possible that his personality and his will and his morals were captured by the Phantoms, and that therefore he was corrupted by them and he went with them rather than he was taken by them. And that's why we've never heard from Zios again. He's just been gone this whole time. And that also explains why when you lay in the Temple of Zios, the Phantoms come out of Zios' mask. Because now the Phantoms are given power by Zios and Zios' mask. Because if they were to capture this gigantic, important creator god, what would that make him to the Phantoms? That would make him the Phantom God, or as we know him today, the Phantom King. This is further symbolized by the fact that there was a monkey statue in the Lost Temple of Zios back during the beta, but now there is just a Zios statue. This is because when Zios left, it's not as though there was just some coincidence where his mask fell onto the monkey statue. No, he purposefully and symbolically said, I value the Phantoms and my creation more than I value you, Mira. So I'm going to use my mask to destroy your monkey, which represents like all the new animals that you created, and leave this kind of dark phantom well in the middle of Jamaa. And if you really don't believe me, well, think about this. The Phantoms are always surrounded by lightning, so where would they get this lightning? Well, Zios is like the head sky god. His realm is like air, nature, weather, which would therefore connotate lightning. You see, this is where Zios and this kind of natural world that he came from intersect, because lightning is a natural phenomenon that is actually very destructive and serves a great purpose, but can cause fires and death and lots of pain. And that is why Zios' symbol for the Phantoms is lightning, is because he's still showing that he is in touch with this natural side of Jamaa and the animals, the natural world, but he's using his natural power to corrupt that world, and to use lightning, which creates fire and destroys life, to fight the natural world. Somewhat unfortunately, this conspiracy was created before the Phantom Fortress adventure was released, so there's a lot of speculation about like Sheep being the animal, and then Greeley in disguise going in and trying to break them out, and then Peck being there, which all kind of turned out to be true, but now it's kind of boring. So I'm gonna skip over all that. Basically, you know all of that. And how it ends is basically, well, Zios is a bad guy. He's over there with the Phantoms. We're gonna have to fight him eventually, but for now, we have Mira and the Alphas, which she created, because, you know, she was like super loving towards all of her animals, and she like kept them all close. Now we're gonna use them to eventually fight Zios. And so her creations are the little animals, and then therefore their pets. Well, usually the fight is between animals and regular Phantoms. Just regular animals, regular Phantoms, kind of like mid-tier to mid-tier, bam, bam, bam. We haven't really seen that much of Alpha versus like Phantom God. That's pretty intense, but we've seen that a couple times. Like there's been some Phantom War stuff and some hints at it and some cutscenes of little things like that. But we've even seen Pet to Proto-Phantom fighting. So basically the fact that this fight is going on at all levels, like it does in the Bittersweet adventure, is really important, because that means that Mira needs an equivalent to fight. And since we've already fought like the strongest Phantom that we've ever seen, and I think it's the Search for Greeley or Greeley's Inferno, one of those, well, we're gonna need a stronger Phantom, right? And that would only happen if Zios was there. So how do we prove that this kind of dynamic of big versus big and medium versus medium and little versus little has to be true? Well, because we've seen it with the little guys, the little Proto-Phantoms versus pets. The Tunnel Town introduction includes Peck saying something about Phantoms transporting the bunnies to wherever they are. There's a picture in the Tunnel Town den store called Home Sweet Home, and it shows a tree. But not just any tree, the Appendale Pet Tree, which is Jamaa's pet store. And Proto-Phantoms are the only ones who can face the pets in the battle, as we saw in the Bittersweets adventure. This kind of follows the same rules as the Phantom creation. Each new type of animal is smaller and less powerful, so it is most likely them who put the pet bunnies in Tunnel Town. So, you may think, oh, well, every time the pets fight the Phantoms, it's just the pets eating the Proto-Phantoms. But actually, it seems as though the Proto-Phantoms have some sort of way to fight back, and that is the whole storyline behind Tunnel Town. And therefore, there's got to be something on the big end. If there's a food chain of everybody has to fight somebody on their level, then Mira would have to fight a Phantom King. And who's the only one equivalent to Mira? Zios. So therefore, I conclude that Zios is the Phantom King for every single reason listed in this video that I won't go through right now. So anyways, Beans, thank you so much for watching. If you have your own conspiracy that you want to send in, julian2moments@gmail.com. I will give you full credit. I would love to read some more conspiracies. And I'll see you in my next video. Bye.